If you go to jail, what did you have? Enemy? How am I an enemy? I don't guess.
Oh, he might have just left.
What do I gain?
I know she was cracking up.
I'm a truthful.
You know, she was cracking up when I was walking.
Last year, when you every single day talking about hate crime. It's like,
Okay. Exactly. There's no point in me.
Yeah.
That's like, I don't think and there's no benefit from hate crime.
1 month to graduation.
Don't say that. I'm not saying that.
I'm gonna
saying
soak
about
up
where
all
your-
of
your
these
pros and
questions
cons
in the Senate moment.
Let me show you my.
Did you get the exempt
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're calling things out of context. You are calling out of context.
What I need to take is together.
Alright, excuse me, so I'm gonna give, so.
I am dropping out. I'm dropping out tomorrow. No, I'm dropping out tomorrow.
It's Rich, when I say there's no benefit, that doesn't mean if there was.
I mean, I can go pull it up, I guess. 13. 13.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
I love it so much. No, it was a.
We will be calling to order the 13th session of the 53rd Senate. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So all who are willing and able, please stand. Ready? Begin. I.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Colorado State acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as the original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university is built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. We'll be moving on to any swearing in of associate senators or senators. I don't think I see anyone new. Start with beginning roll call. Can the clerk call the roll? Alrighty. Senator Bakari.
Present.
Chair Kelly. Senator Van Tassel. Senator Barrett. Associate Senator Lutz. Senator Johnson, Cole Johnson. Senator Winston. Here. Senator Tabib. Senator Athey. Senator Wilson, here. Chair Oslan, here. Chairman Monty,
Here.
Senator Perk,
Here.
Senator Hill, here. Senator Melchior,
Here.
Senator Schumer, present. Senator Chacon, here. Senator Snyder,
Here.
Chair Taylor,
Here.
Senator McAllister Johnson. Here. Chair Trout,
Present.
Senator Davis. Here. Senator Frisky. Senator Levy. Here. Senator Reese. Here. Associate Senator Rivera. Associate Senator Salazar. Here. Senator Barron. Present. Associate Senator Camberg. Present. Senator Lasser.
The Shining is the best movie I've ever seen.
Associate Alvarez. Senator Pickerel.
Present.
Associate Senator Yankowski. Senator Buckner. Senator Lancey.
Here.
Associate Senator Ozor.
Here.
Associate Senator Leggett. Associate Senator Miller. Present. Associate Senator Myers.
Here.
Associate Senator Byrd. Senator Huizenga. Here. Senator Brown. Senator DeMaria.
Here.
Senator Vaughn.
Here.
Associate Senator Turner.
Here.
Associate Senator Morgan. I will now start with consent agenda. Is there any dissent to this agenda? Seeing none, we move on to gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time?
That was so funny.
Hello, Nora Oswald, and I, may have seen me tabling on the plaza this past Friday and this past Monday. On Friday, this Friday, November 17th at 2 p.m., there is a walkout going on to protest for a ceasefire. If you are willing and able, please show up in the plaza at 2 p.m. I have some handouts that I'm going to pass out around too during the rest of gallery input. Please reach out to me with any questions or concerns. Thank you.
Hey y'all, I'm Senator Wilson. I'm reading a letter on behalf of former Senator Rory Lowe. It's titled "No Room and Nowhere to Go, Trying to Get in the Door on a Very Inaccessible Campus." On April 12th, Sammy Trout, Mia Ritter, and myself passed the I Cannot Believe It's Not Buttons Act, creating the first ASCSU Accessibility Caucus. I was ratified as the first chair, and I knew I had nothing less than a monumental task laid out in front of me. Since May, the Accessibility Caucus has grown from 3 members to 16. We are united around our shared struggle with navigating barriers on campus. We are all volunteers and all of us are choosing to be here. We want to create a better campus for everyone. Colorado State University is an institution dedicated to segregating people with disabilities. Unfortunately, this fact does not make CSU anything special. If anything, it makes the discrimination against disabled people here painfully ordinary. Bias, stigma, and shame allow segregation of disabled people across the United States to continue, which is to say it would be a credulous negligent to assume CSU is an exception to this norm. While people with disabilities have made gains statewide in Colorado, according to many organizations dedicated to serving people with disabilities, it is still not enough. We face discrimination in education, housing, and employment. While Colorado was the birth of the grassroots movement that led to the eventual passage of the ADA in 1990, we have a long way to go towards real and meaningful inclusion. CSU blocks us from the community with broken doors, elevators, and buildings. It is not like CSU does not have the money to make these changes either. I was forwarded an email by Steve Kim, the construction project manager for facilities management, where he disclosed that facilities management has been allocated $182,000 to bring at least 28 campus buildings up to compliance with the standards set by the ADA to guarantee access for disabled people. Yet facilities management has failed to respond to student outreach or take bidders to meet its obligations as a public institution that receives federal funding. CSU's lackadaisical attitude towards providing accessible environments required by federal law means that on top of average college kids struggles, we are facing potentially illegal violations of our civil rights and what I would like to call spiteful response to those of us brave enough to speak up for our rights. During the time I served in ASCSU representing disabled students, I witnessed nothing short of deliberate undermining of programs meant to serve people with both permanent and temporary disabilities, ranging from denial of individual accommodations to entire transportation programs being undercut. Campus offices have well-meaning student and professional staff who want to include disabled people, but because they are regulated to awkwardly shaped and small rooms, many of us stand no chance of being in community. Shortages of accessible seating options, remote access, broken buttons, and elevators leave us stranded, segregated, and isolated. I would argue that CSU has not really left 1972. Yet despite this, we are here. We are remarkably ordinary too. We are a mix of STEM majors, humanities majors, activists, and non-activists, which is to say we are here. We have not given up our hope or the fight, so don't give up on us too. In the process of writing this letter, I asked members of the Accessibility Caucus to describe what accessibility is and why it matters to them. I want to leave you with some of their words. Accessibility benefits everyone. Either it benefits you or now or down the line. Sammy Trout, Chair of Accessibility Caucus, Associate Center, Disability Center. Affordability, sustainable, comprehension, personal, individual, anonymous. Accessibility is about how we show love and care to others. A space that is accessible sends the message that I am valued and belong there. Anonymous. It's about access to power and a voice. Anonymous.
Is there anyone else who wants to bring down the link?
Is there anyone in the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, we're going to move on to executive reports. Is there anyone from the executive cabinet who wishes to speak at this time?
The Senate. If you don't know me, my name is Hayden Deason. I use the she series of pronouns, and I am the Director of Environmental Affairs this year. So I'm here to give you a few updates about what's been going on. I have a new deputy. I think I've already told you all that, and she is working on event-based things around sustainability while I'm kind of working with administration side of things. So I don't know if y'all saw it. We have compost bins in the LSC now, which is huge. Yeah. And so I credit that to ASCSU people of the past and the present. A lot of people have worked very hard to get that in the LSC. So you know, definitely get a chance, take a moment to go and look at it when you get the chance. And then let me think. Oh, yesterday I met with the CSU Foundation. Who knows what the foundation is? Okay. Anytime an alumni or person donates money to ASCSU, or not, gosh, to CSU, that goes into this thing called the foundation/endowment. And what they do is they invest that money and make the money grow, essentially. And then they use that to fund scholarships and then also things around campus and also keep our tuition low because we do not get a lot of funding from the state. In the past, certain groups have, I think, had some mistaken facts about the foundation and what they're doing in regard to divestment from fossil fuels, which is why I wanted to have a chat with them. I spoke with the CEO and the CFO of the foundation yesterday, and as soon as I get like hard numbers and facts from them, I'm going to, oh, did this?
Sorry, we're having tech problems.
I think I was just talking too long. I don't know. Okay, where was I? As soon as I have hard numbers from them, I'd really like to come here and share some of the information that I found from them because I think we all deserve to be well informed on that, but I want to make it clear that they aren't spending our student fees and they're not spending our tuition. It is just an endowment from people who have donated to us. So I want to make that clear. Okay, and then the last thing is Sophia, my deputy, and I are going to be doing an event on December 7th called Sustainable Holiday Soiree. So as you may be aware, the holidays generate a lot of waste and gift giving. You know, think about all the packaging that gifts come in, as well as like wrapping paper, ribbons, etc. And so we want to create an event that kind of like diverts away from consumerism. And so on December 7th, between 4 and 7 p.m., you can stop by the Corbett Kitchen. And what we're going to be doing is creating candles and soap and you know those orange garlands that you can use to decorate. We're going to be creating those, and then we're also going to have a gift wrapping station where we'll be using fabrics that come from the Nancy Richardson Design Center. So we're trying to make it all very cyclical. Also, please bring your own jars if you would like to do a candle. I really hope to see you all there. Hopefully we'll be getting our marketing materials soon. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening, Senate. This week I had the opportunity to attend the National Governors Association in Westminster on Monday and Tuesday. And what really an incredible experience. The governor of Montana, governor of Oklahoma, governor of Utah, who's the chair, Governor Cox, and Governor Polis, our own governor, is the vice chair of NGA. And we had some really, really insightful conversations about their theme for the year, which is about disagreeing better. In our current politics, it's not the norm. What's happened within the last 10 years, it's not normal. It's not what we should expect. And many of us have grown up around it, and that's all we've seen. And so we expect it to be the norm, but it's not normal, and we should expect better. And so the entire thing was about how we disagree and how we could do that in a more effective way. And so we got to spend extensive time with a lot of these leaders. And I'll tell you, in my experience of being in ASCSU over the number of a few years, we've had the opportunity to interact with Governor Polis quite a bit, but those experiences combined didn't measure up to the amount of time we got with him over the last 2 days, to where we'd have 30-minute lunch conversations with just me, Director Stella, the first gentleman, and Governor Polis about really, really complex issues facing young people, facing higher education, and just facing the nation in general. And so just an incredible experience, and it really elevated ASCSU to where we were really the only students there that were consistently participating. And I think that shows, and it shows how serious we're taking our role as leaders in ASCSU. And it's to the point where the governors know our name. Got to do a really cool cornhole match with Governor Polis with some folks in the Special Olympics. And one of the quotes that one of the folks in the Special Olympics said was that oftentimes they are asked to adapt to us and our world, but very seldom are we asked to adapt to them. And I think that's something we should really consider, and going forward, maybe even a partnership that we could do with Special Olympics when they do their events here on campus, because it was just amazing, and they are much better at cornhole than I am. And one of the things I wanted to touch on about the conference is they shared some really interesting statistics about higher ed, and the numbers are 74% of students report self-censoring in class, meaning that they're either afraid of how their professors will view their views or other students will view what they have to think. A quote that stuck with me is that we did not come here to become more skilled defenders of an inherited ideology. College used to be a place of convergence of a lot of different ideas, a lot of different perspectives. And you came to college, you leaned into that, and you understood why other people who grew up differently, why they have the beliefs that they do. And if we're unwilling to share what our personal beliefs are and really get to the bottom of why we believe what we do, then we're doing a disservice to not only ourselves, but those around us. And so that statistic, if 74% of students are self-censoring in class, how many of the folks in this room are self-censoring their ideas and their perspectives? And so it's this entire idea about disagreeing better. One of the things that Governor Cox said is probably the most important question that he's asked, or one of the most important questions that we need to ask is, what is it that you've changed your mind about and why? Open-minded people change minds often. And so we have to be willing to understand different perspectives, understand our perspectives, and maybe develop that and grow from that, and maybe change what we previously perceived to be true. And so all that, I said all that to say this, that a lot of the disagreements we have is not about substance of issues, but it's about tone and how we approach it. And if we approach things in a respectful manner, and there's a sense of general and genuine curiosity about what other people believe and why they believe it, then it strips away all the personal attacks and the nastiness that could come along with it. We have to be able to challenge ideas, but not challenge people and attack people. And so that's what I walked away from with this conference, and I just wanted to share it with all of you because it really resonated with me. So overall, we have to learn how to disagree better, and that was the crux of the conference, and it's really something that is the massive call to our generation. How do we fix our politics? And if we're unwilling to do it in this body, then Congress in the next 10 or 20 years will be unwilling to do it. So thank you.
Alrighty, my talk is not nearly as inspirational as Nick's, so thank you for leaving me with that. I would like to discuss a few things. First off, I'm going to be putting all of this information in the Teams so you can refer back to it. I would highly recommend doing the same with your Senate reports, because I know a lot of the time, a lot of exec members aren't able to make the Senate meetings, or they're not able to watch it online, but they still are really interested in the things that you are promoting and the events that are going on campus. And so this is part of the reason why I wanted to switch to Teams, because I just think it's a very easy way to like reply to messages, have different message chains. So yeah, all the information that I'm sharing today is directly found on the Teams. First off, ASCSU and Pre-Medica will be hosting a blood drive on Wednesday, December 6th from 11:30 to 3:30 p.m. And we are looking for donors. We have all of the volunteers we currently need right now, which is fantastic. We have about 30 people, primarily from Pre-Medica, that want to volunteer for the event, and about 20 donors. We have 56 slots open, and with every donation potentially saving 3 lives, that's over 150 lives being saved, which I think is freaking crazy. But according to redcrossblood.org, approximately 29,000 units of red blood are needed every day in the US. The donation process takes about an hour, and we strongly encourage donors to eat and drink lots on the day of their donation. If you are interested in donating, please text ASCSU Blood or at ASCSU Blood to 81010 to access the Sign Up Genius. I would highly encourage this. It's a really cool opportunity to feel like you're like actually saving human lives. I've donated before. It's a really fun process, and they're very supportive, and they help you through the entire thing. So if you're interested and you're curious, you have further questions, please reach out. Secondly, ASCSU Culture Review has been going strong. We had our second meeting last week, and it was super successful. We saw some new faces in the space from all 3 different branches, which was fantastic.
We are trying to organize trainings in the spring for all 3 branches, encourage more interactions with students outside of the organization, and potentially host ASCSU open houses to further that connection with the student body that currently doesn't know about ASCSU. So if you are interested in attending these, they are hosted on Wednesdays from 2 to 3 p.m. The next one will be the week after fall break. And then lastly, I want to provide a little update about the health-related initiatives that I'm trying to progress on campus. The free pregnancy test bill is being pushed back to the spring due to the health network needing more time to integrate into crews and their current distribution system. In terms of the wellness vending machines, we are submitting the proposal by the end of this month. I do plan on coming to Senate with a bill sometime next semester in regards to funding for this program. Currently, 48 universities across the nation have these machines, and even some states such as California, Connecticut, and New York are requiring at least one emergency contraception kiosk on their campuses. We really need to invest right now in student health and reproductive rights. So if you're interested in helping me with this project, specifically co-authoring a bill, and kind of working with me through some of the research that I've already done, please let me know. The way in which the free pregnancy test program started last year was a senator coordinated with me and the health network, and we made it happen. And it was a really cool project, and I love that cooperation between exec and Senate. So please reach out. I know someone had reached out before from Senate, and I'm hoping to work with them further. But if anyone's interested, please reach out. Lastly, I just want to kind of give support to Senator Pickerell's bill that's hitting the floor today. I think it's something that's super important, super needed. I've heard from a lot of my friends because Claire's told me quite a bit about this bill, and I've gone out of my way to talk to a lot of my friends, and they really appreciate the work, the thought, the effort that's gone into this and the places in which this money could go and really benefit students. So thank you so much for the work that you've already done. Thank you so much for the work that everyone in this space is doing. And have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday night. Thank you.
Okay, everyone. So as you can see, Ava is not here and Claudia is currently sick, so I will be taking over the speakership for this session. As such, I am a little strained with managing technology in this space. So if there is any volunteers here that could handle the Zoom chat and making sure that everyone on Zoom is able to communicate and have their opinions be heard, I'd love that. Yeah. So basically just open up Zoom on your computer, and if there's any questions, send them to Claire. So now we'll move on to judicial reports. Is there anyone from the judicial branch who would like to speak? That is working now. Where you can use this.
Hello. Okay, so we decided to take the opinion, labeled 5301, as I brought it last week. So I'm just gonna read the whole thing in full for you guys. Okay, so the opinion was clarification on the voting threshold used for SFRB ratifications. A senator for the Student Disability Center, Alexander Wilson, requested an opinion regarding the voting threshold that was used to vote during the SFRB ratification of Senator Wilson. The only specific question we were asked to answer was, for an SFRB ratification, should the Senate utilize a 2/3 supermajority vote or a simple majority vote? And the court had determined the following. In a 7-0-0 vote, which is unanimous, we decided that the ratification process done on November 1st was not followed correctly in accordance with section 906 clause C of the Constitution, and we'll probably edit that to include the article because I forgot about that. But quote, all members of the Student Fee Review Board shall be confirmed by a plurality vote of the Senate. And we know this is confusing because plurality is normally multiple people, but the court understands this as a simple majority. Second, even though these weren't specifically asked, also side note, thank you everybody for all of the briefs you submitted. We really appreciated it, and it helped us also like figure out what we should highlight and what people were specifically confused about. So the second thing we answered was, that we determined that the voting style used to orchestrate the ratification was utilized incorrectly. And we found this for the Senate bylaws, section 6 clause H, which states all votes for ratification shall be done by a secret ballot unless it is the approval of the slate. Since Alexander Wilson was not on the slate, this ratification should have been done by a secret ballot. And obviously you all are the Senate and you determine how you rule yourself. So if people make a motion to not do secret, that's your discretion. But generally they should be done by secret ballot unless you're on the slate per your bylaws. Third, in a 7-0 vote, the court decided to provide clarification on no confidence votes because we heard that people were really confused about that as well. So per Senate bylaws, section 6, clause K, quote, for elections and ratification, members may vote no confidence if they do not have confidence in any of the candidates to fill the job requirements. I wrote out 3 things that must be followed for this. First, the motion must be explicitly made to take a no confidence vote. And then once that motion passes, the no confidence vote shall need a 2/3 majority vote. So if people want to be voting no confidence for someone, it needs to be explicitly stated. So everybody knows. And if no confidence vote passes, all candidates will be considered to have received no votes, and a new election ratification will be held during the next session. So finally, in the 7-0 vote, it is the opinion of the court that the ratification of Senator Wilson be redone following correct procedures. Does anybody have any questions?
And just to confirm, just to make sure, folks know, this might be so echoey, and I apologize for that. Just to make sure that folks know, because Supreme Court meetings are an exception to the 48-hour rule, per the Constitution, we'll be sending it for the next weekly email so folks can read it. And will you be back here next Wednesday to answer any follow-up questions?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anything else?
Ex officio, Silverheart, you guys speak.
Is the intention then to do that ratification tonight, and is that a possibility?
We will open it up to a vote, so whether or not we hold that ratification tonight, it will be a simple majority vote, as that's just a motion to hold it. Otherwise, we'll hold it probably next week. I'm sorry, the next Senate session.
Okay, sweet. All good? Thank you, everybody, so much for the briefs. Seriously, that was like the first time anybody's like actually produced them, so that was sick. Really appreciate it.
Okay, we will now be opening this up to legislative reports. Is there anyone from any legislative officers who would like to report? Yes, Mia Ritter.
Hi, everybody. Give me 1 second. I have a couple of things for you, Okay. So as you know, Ava's not here. She has a chemistry exam right now, and she wanted me to let you all know for next semester she's taking BMS 300, so she will also be missing Wednesdays a few times throughout the semester next semester from 5 to 6:50. So she'll just be coming in the Senate a little bit late. Yeah, tragic. So a couple of things she wanted me to talk to you about is we're working on the teams for everyone. I know a couple of people have been added so far, and we're still working on that. And we'll be doing that over break. So just to give you a little bit of a heads up, she met with Governor Polis and Cox and got to ask some questions and hear some viewpoints. And I'm sure she'd be happy to share those things with you once she's back. So if you'll want to ask her any questions about that or ask her about that, I'm sure she'd love to chat about that. She was telling me about there's about 8% funding shared today by the chancellor from state funding that we might be able to use. And so I know she'll want to talk a little bit more about that in detail. But just to kind of give you a heads up, that's some exciting stuff coming our way, potentially. She will be meeting with Blanche Hughes after fall break next week. So if anybody has anything that they want to share with Ava, to share with Blanche as well, I'm sure she'd be happy to relay those messages to her as well. And I think that's all. So again, I'm Mia, if I don't say that, but I'm there. If you ever need anything, let me know. Yeah.
Okay, since there does not seem to be any other legislative officer reports, we will now move into committee abstracts. Are there any committees that would like to speak?
Hi all, budgetary went over the accessibility next class, not last, yesterday, and we discharged it and sponsored it. Since we have two bills that are on the agenda today that do ask for monetary amounts, we will be sent those bills, because the budgetary committee does. So a reminder, budgetary committee occurs every single Tuesday, not next week. But every Tuesday except for next week, from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please show up if you can, if you're not able to, but you still would like to put your input to the bills that we see. Please send me an email with any comments, concerns, or questions you have, and I can do my best to answer them and ask the authors as well. Thank you, I yield.
Trout? Yeah.
Good evening, y'all. Hope you're doing well. This last Monday, we reviewed the University Center of the Arts building, and their building and their buttons. We obviously won't be meeting next Monday. However, for the rest of the semester, we will be working on finalizing drafting our December report. I encourage folks who are in the caucus to do one of two things. One is to fill out the Google form I sent to the group me for name, pronouns, and what titles you'd like to be recognized by. I want to recognize y'all's work on that. And then secondly, I will be sending a draft of the report to our group me. I'm thinking either Friday or sometime before we come back from Monday so folks can get a look at it. And to give folks enough time to put in individual recommendations. I know there were a lot of things that we weren't able to talk about as a caucus, of things that we wanted to do, but we weren't able to tackle on as a group and individuals took on those responsibilities. And I want y'all's work to be recognized, especially if you know about specific aspects that I wouldn't know or other members wouldn't know. So stay tuned for that very shortly. And if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns for me, please let me know. With that, I yield.
Chairman Alti?
Yeah, no, there was nothing that my committee went over last week. Looking at the docket right now, these bills will be sent to my committee probably. So we will be looking over them in my committee. I will not be chairing that committee. My vice chair will be. So be aware of that. And if you do have any questions, probably now is the time to send them to me as well as like Thursday. So that way I can forward them to my vice chair so they can add them during committee. And with that, I yield.
Chair Taylor?
We had nothing on the agenda in internal committee this week, so we didn't do anything this week. But like all of the other committees, I would assume that we will in 2 weeks. So please come to the meeting. I will.
Okay, if there's no other chairs, Chair Graham or Kelly?
Yeah. So let's see what happened this week for the abstract, but going forward, I need to gear down for finals. In the 300 and OChem at the same time was a mistake. But yeah, I have to focus on school. So next week we get back, I will be holding no. I'll be holding my normal time, right? Because I still need to, I postponed Lex due to a lack of participation. So I'll be holding that again. If no one comes, I'm just going to send it through without any edits. But yeah, going forward, if I don't have anything for my committee, I will not be holding it because I am going to spend every hour of my free time studying from now on. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other chairs, we will be moving into Senator and Associate Senator reports, starting with the first raised placard. Chair Trout.
Hi y'all. A Ramride focus report for y'all. Folks who do not know, I serve as the community outreach coordinator for Ramride. And right now we are working on getting folks informed on Ramride. So we are coming back in full swing for the spring semester. We are going to be operating in a semi old fashioned where we used to before the new model we introduced. So if student orgs are interested, you will have the option to bring in either 16 volunteers for $500 a night or 30 volunteers for $1,000 a night. If you have any further questions like about the in-between details of that, please let me know. It's just a little too long for me to give a brief abstract. But if you're interested, applications open up December 6th at 9 a.m. It is a first come, first served sort of deal. I will also be sending that information out to the front desk, so the front desk can send out the QR codes and the posters that we make, because our graphic designers are the absolute most amazing people in the world. Cannot stress enough. There's a Beyonce themed one if you really want to see it. It's super cool. But if you have any questions about Ramride or anything like that, please let me know. And with that, thank you.
Senator Camper.
All right, y'all, a couple things. Veterans Week went really well. We had a lot of really awesome events honoring those who have served and those who have given their life. Just kind of a silly thing, military, I wouldn't say silly, but to take with a grain of salt because veterans' needs are often still not met. In the central region, Colorado State University, according to Military Times, is ranked number 1 and number 16 of 325 institutions. That's amazing. And with that, just keep in mind, just because we do something really well, does not mean that we still don't have room to improve. Just because we do really well for our population doesn't mean that there are still not needs met. And with that, also, I want to say thank you to, and this is maybe a little embarrassing, but thank you to everyone who came to family dinner. This is probably the most interbranch interaction we had in that space. I'd like to keep that going. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope to see more faces at that. And then with that, I yield.
Chair Oswald.
Hi, a couple of upcoming things for Pride. On December 4th at 5 p.m., there is the Lavender graduation. If you are a graduate who identifies within the queer umbrella, please RSVP to get recognized at that dinner. But it is also just like a dinner, so come support your friends who may be graduating this semester there as well. There's also on Wednesday, November 22nd from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. there is the P-Flag and Pride's Found Family Dinner. If you are not able to go home this fall break and be with your family for any reason and you would like to go to this Found Family Dinner, please RSVP for that. There is a student safe zone training Tuesday, November 28th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's a 2-hour training. There's registration that can be found. I think if you walk to the Pride office, anyone can help you find that registration. I think you can also register online at the Pride website. Next week, November 29th, SWANA is hosting a Try to Understand. We're partnering. We're partnering with Hillel. The Try to Understand is discussing Israeli and Palestinian culture, and it will be from 5 to 7. And then in very serious topics, which tomorrow is the Trans Day of Remembrance dinner hosted by the Pride Center. At 5 p.m. there is a community dinner for trans and non-binary folks, and at 6 p.m. there is a remembrance event. We ask that if you would like to come, but you do not identify as trans and non-binary, that you please only come to the remembrance event, as we would like the 5 p.m. community dinner to just hold space for trans community. Trans and non-binary community, thank you. In America, this past couple of years, we've seen a large increase in anti-trans, anti-gender non-conforming legislation, and this has put a severe risk to the life of trans people and a disproportionate risk to the life of trans people of color, particularly trans women of color. Because of this, Pride Center likes to hold space every year to remember our family that was lost
due to anti-trans and anti-non-binary and anti-gender non-conforming hate and transphobia. There's a lot to understand and a lot of nuance behind this because we're talking about people's lives and we're talking about things that get politicized when they shouldn't be. So if you would like to come to remember this event, it is tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the Lori Student Center Theater. If you are trans and non-binary identifying and you would like to come and have community before this event, 5 p.m. within the Lori Student Center is the community dinner. Thank you, I yield.
Senator Wilson.
I am a part of the ASCSU Culture Review. We're currently planning a bonding activity for an inter-branch bonding activity. And if anyone would like to be a part of that event planning or has any ideas, those would be greatly appreciated because we're kind of picking at nothing. I yield.
Senator Butari.
Howdy. Senator Butari, representative from APAC, the Asian Pacific American Culture Center, just some updates, just to echo what Nora said. Today we had to try to understand, talking about the history of Thanksgiving and its significance, and oftentimes we ignore the true history, what happened in lieu of convenience. So keeping that in mind, I ask you all, when you embark on this holiday season, to keep that in mind. Yes, they might be difficult conversations to be had, but remember the love and peace. That being said, we also have another try to understand coming after break, again, discussing the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Do attend. It will not be an APAC, however, because of the size and nature of this event. It's pretty sensitive. It'll be in the room across from APAC in 328. But we hope to see you there. Again, try to understand is essentially we do a presentation and we hold an open forum and discussion respectfully on difficult topics pertaining to identity, experience, and whatnot. Everyone is welcome. Usually there's food. If you want to find out what food, pull up. Other than that, I wish you all a wonderful holiday.
Are there any other senators or associate senators who wish to speak at this time? Sure. Senator Camber.
I forgot to mention, my husband and I host Thanksgiving. We do Friendsgiving every year because our families suck and we made our own family. And in the spirit of that, anyone here, if you're in town and you're finding yourself with nothing to do or just want to have a good time and eat some good food, let me know. You're all officially invited to Thanksgiving at my house.
Okay. And we will now, I would like to entertain a motion to hold the ratification for SFRB right now.
I'd like to add the ratification of SFRB members to the under company business.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Yeah. We will now do a placard vote on this for
And just motion for a voice vote.
yeah, sure. If you want to say aye to this or yes to this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
If you disagree with this motion, please say nay. Hearing none, the ayes have it, and we'll be holding ratification and confidence business. Yes, Senator Davis. You have a motion.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we have to do discussion and debate again, or is it just straight up ratification?
So that was going to be my next question or motion to entertain your time. Do we want to hold a question and answer or discussion and debate session? Yes, Senator
Melchior.
Melchior.
I motion to abstain from the discussion, debate, Q&A period, and move straight into a period of voting.
Okay. Then
Point of information, for what purposes is this ratification? For not having a point of debate?
Senator Melchior.
This is the third time that Senator Wilson's come before us, and it seems a little redundant and like a waste of time to continue repeating the same Q&A period over and over again.
And also a point of order that we have a vote on this candidate last week? And
The judicial opinion said that we need to redo that vote, if that is what you're asking.
okay, thank you.
So if there's no other questions on this motion, we will begin voting on it. We will do this again by voice vote. If you are in favor of skipping discussion and debate and question and answer and moving into a period of voting for the ratification of SFRB, please say aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
I'm gonna say, let's go call division on this and do it by placard vote. If you vote aye, please raise your placard. If you say oppose this, please raise your placard. Okay. If you abstain from this motion, please raise your placard. Okay. So the ayes have it. We'll be skipping discussion and debate and moving into affirmative voting. I ask that Senator Wilson please step out. Okay. We will now begin voting. Because this is a ratification, this needs to be done via a secret ballot unless there are any other motions against that. So yeah, I guess it's secret ballot.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
Following the secret ballot vote, a motion for a 5-minute seeking unanimous consent for a 5-minute recess while votes are being counted.
Okay. Is there any dissent to that motion? Okay, seeing no dissent, that will be the case. So what is going to happen here is in a little bit, we will have our piece of paper that will be handed out to all of you. And you will vote either yes or no on the ratification of Senator Wilson to be joining SFRB. Abstentions are allowed. And then after everyone has voted and we have collected those votes, we will start a 5-minute recess. Before your vote is collected, we ask that all of you remain seating so that way votes can be collected in a timely manner. Thank you.
Point of clarification, abstentions do not count towards the total vote, is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
And also a point of information as well, Mr. Speaker. It requires us 2/3, correct?
No, it requires a majority vote. Yes, voting members or senators or associate senators filling in for senators are the only ones who may vote at this time.
I'd like it to be known that I'm returning this piece of paper.
No, I'm. They just have to wait. They were just speaking. Don't want anyone to.
Yeah, that side of the note.
Yeah.
Bro, I guess. Oh, yeah, I think that.
Then, okay, yeah, he has a big.
Ben is not okay. I saw Ben and we have. I'm not.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
May we begin the recess?
Have all of the votes been collected? It seems yes, so yes, recess has begun.
Yeah.
Hey, are we supposed to send our secret ballot votes to the parliamentarian account or Ava's account? Or Senator Pickerel? Who? Where am I supposed to put this? If you are speaking out loud to answer, you are muted. I'm gonna throw that out there. Thank you.
Please send your vote to the parliamentarian. Did you get that?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yes. Eleven, nine. Oh, I remember. Oh. Sorry, you're good.
If I'm here.
So it is now 11:08. Like a bar. Yeah. So yeah, will be my last. You're going. I'm waiting for
I am more than happy to take that. And also you can ask questions. We're gonna make sure you get the reviews. Yeah. It will become even here.
Let's keep this going.
Yeah, they are.
Okay, everyone, if you could please make your way back to your seats.
Thank you.
Okay, so the votes have been tallied, and with a vote to 11 to 8 to 5, this motion passes. Alexander Wilson is now our new SFRB member.
Well, we gotta wait until he comes back in.
We're gonna put you in.
I found. I'm doing it too.
Where's the mic? For.
It's on the floor.
Yeah.
If a member of the judicial branch could please come down.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
This is weird. I still don't get it. Guys, it's a switch. I didn't see that.
You're gonna fish. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
All right, I'm Sam Abity, Associate Justice, here to do the swearing in. All right, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Alexander Wilson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold the rules and regulations
to defend and uphold the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
set forth by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay, we will now be moving into new business, starting with Bill 5311, the establishing a housing caucus. If the author will please take the stand. You can begin.
Hi, Senate. This is a bill that I'm so excited to have be seen by us all. So thank you all for sponsoring and endorsing this and being able to get this seen by the Senate tonight. Basically, I would like to establish a housing caucus of ASCSU because many of you who have lived on campus know that housing costs a lot, and that's a big issue. That's an issue to me, and it's an issue to many students who I talk to on campus. ASCSU is focused a lot on issues off campus like U+2 that affect housing, and we haven't focused tons on issues on campus, and so I thought that we could kind of take a stab at that as well. Basically, the idea behind this is to seek student involvement and to have communication with housing and dining and students, which is something that I think has been kind of lacking. So I'm going to open that up to any questions anybody has.
Okay, we will now be opening a 10-minute question and answer period with the first raised placard. Senator Davis.
Just one real quick question. What, do you have any like specific like for the caucus yet, or are you gonna wait until it like goes in the motion to?
I have ideas, but nothing specific yet. I would like to be communicating with, I guess, whoever this body decides the chair should be of that caucus. But looking to get just as much student involvement as we can. So thinking a little bit about like social media, putting something in the collegian is something I'm going to look at. I would also like to look at maybe going to some of the residence halls and maybe some classes to talk to students and get them involved in this. Is kind of the basic idea that I would have.
Senator Camber.
Yeah, that we touched on this a little bit, but would you be open for the caucus to speak about other housing issues or combining efforts where there may be overlap?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's all that I have for now. I yield.
Chair Trout.
I yield to redundancy.
Okay. If there are no other questions, this will
I have
be good.
one quick thing I would like to say as well. I had a meeting with Joshua Maxwell, the Director of Housing at CSU, and he was thinking about planning something to have a meeting with some folks in ASCSU and some folks in Housing and Dining, and also some people within the Residence Hall Association to kind of discuss this a little bit. So if you would like to be involved in that, please come and talk to me. I would love to have a few ASCSU folks in that. That's all I have.
Do you have a question, Bakari? Okay. Then, seeing no other questions, this bill shall be moved into University and DEI Affairs Committee. Our next order of business is I don't remember the name exactly, funding the WGAC Survivors Support Fund. If you could please read the abstract or describe your bill.
Yes.
Howdy, Senate. So as it currently stands, the bill that I submitted says this bill will allocate $21,000 to ASCSU Senate Discretionary Fund to the WGAC's either endowed or non-endowed survivor support fund and the ongoing support of survivors of interpersonal violence. This evening, it became apparent that student funds, since we are funded by student fees, we cannot endow our money. So that creates a little bit of a complexity, one that was anticipated while writing the bill. So there's a fallback that I am more than happy to go through and do the edits for, that would allocate $21,000 to a non-endowed fund. And while that fund, and they are able to like spend the balance down of that secondary fund that is not endowed, they can continue to work towards funding this primarily this endowed fund. Currently, the endowed fund has about $4,000. And it needs $21,000 to get over the finish line to be able to be endowed. The minimum at CSU is $25,000. So in the meantime, while they are continuing to hand out support to survivors and allowing those survivors to continue to live their lives following some of the most traumatic events that a person can go through, they can continue to bolster their endowment fund to that $21,000, which I intend to try and help them do while in the meantime.
Okay, we will now open a 10-minute period of discussion and debate, starting with the first raised placard. I'm sorry, not discussion debate, question and answer, starting with the first raised placard. Senator Camber.
For those who don't understand the concept of like endowment and what that means with money and what that's asking,
why you would be asking for money to be endowed and what kind of the implications and why that is. And then, in the light of the fact that you are not able to do that, how that still helps the end result. Could you speak to that, please?
So endowment is a beautiful thing called free money. What you do is you put $25,000 into the CSU Foundation pot. So you get like, can I swear?
No.
A ton of money, and you put that into the pot, and then the pot takes it and they go and they look at it and they go, oh, this is going to make about 4.25% interest this year. And so with $25,000, that makes about $1,000 of interest every year. That's pretty good. That's $1,000 scholarship every year, basically in perpetuity, if you don't add any more money into it. So as you add more money into that, you get a higher return, and that's called, I believe, is usually called a payout. So you get a higher payout, you're able to fund more people. It's a phenomenal way to go. Since we're not able to use our student fees, which ASCSU is funded by, I would say sadly, but that's not quite the word I wanted to say. We are able to put that money into a different account, which will allow for them to continue to grow the secondary account, the endowment fund, without having to go, ugh, we got to split the money. We got to figure out where to put the money so we can continue to spend. We can continue to hand out scholarship money while still funding this endowment account. It's kind of a balancing game.
So just for clarification.
Yes.
We cannot directly give the money to the endowment, but what we can do is give the money to the organization, and the organization can use other funds to ensure that that endowment amount is reached so that we can create sustainable infinite money cap.
That is correct. Infinite money coach.
Okay, I yield my hand.
Thank you so much.
Chair Trout. Oh, so in this, first therefore clause, it states. Let me pull it up on my thing, because it's-
I crossed it out.
No, not the one that's crossed out, the one below that. So now the first one. It says that the allocated sum of $21,000 from discretionary fund will go to the thing.
Yes.
This allocation brings the total amount of funds to $33,700.
Yes.
That is a $12,700 difference. What is that number from, in case, I don't know if that's referenced in the bill already. It might be, and I might have completely spaced it.
It also might be back in math. It might need to be 24.
Okay.
Neither here nor there. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so just,
that correct?
I hate when I read it, my case, and I apologize for that. So essentially, since there is that labeled, 12,700 difference, is that $12,000 in that fund already, or, is there separate funding or separate stuff going into it?
Yeah, so they currently have $13,700 in a secondary survivor support fund. Well, secondary, that is the current primary, because they can currently pull money from that. The other one, they can't pull money from, otherwise it won't grow. So that's the primary one they pull money from to give these, like, not necessarily odds and ends, because they're life-changing opportunities, of like $250 for a Ring doorbell, or $60 for a new pair of jeans if your jeans had to be taken in for evidence. Like, that is currently the fund they are using to offer those scholarships. Yeah, I apologize.
Very good. And then you kind of answered it a little bit, but what would the fund specifically be allocating funds for essentially?
Yeah, so the funds are case by case, kind of difficult to put like a constraint and be like, well, you can only spend the money on that, because interpersonal violence is so varied from every person's experience. It's a really, really difficult thing to just put your finger on and be like, hey, this is the only thing we can greenlight the money for. That's also why it's a sliding scale scholarship. Like you heard me say $60, $250. If somebody needed a ton of money for a very specific thing and they were like, this is what I need, like they might need, we have the food bank, but they might need to supplement that so they can continue to feed their kids. There's a lot of variable factors that come into it. Recently, I think I put more examples in the bill, but Ring doorbell following stalking incidents, $250. That's how much it costs to file for divorce. New jeans, new textbooks because they had to go spend it on something else. if you, a lot of times, if you fall into interpersonal violence while in college, it will increase your dropout rates. It's very difficult to continue on with college. So I'm not going to ask for your help a little bit. It doesn't provide an incentive to stay in college, but it provides some alleviation to continue in college following that kind of event.
Point of privilege, this is heavy. I can see that you're reacting a little bit. Can you take a moment and take a deep breath? This is a heavy topic. Can you take a minute or two just to do a grounding, deep breath, moment of silence maybe?
Know the information, are you motioning for recess, a 2-minute recess?
Yes, I move to take a 2-minute, maybe not a recess, but just a 2-minute break. Not a full recess, but just a moment to ground and center.
We will have to finish our question and answer period before entertaining that motion. I believe.
May I use the next 2 minutes of my time right now on the floor to have the room be totally silent?
Have time on the floor right now.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Chair Taylor.
You were out of time. I forgot to mention that.
Oh, you're out of time. I forgot to mention that. Short Chair Taylor, you may begin.
So I was under the understanding, I believe, that the 21,000 would be to make the endowment enough to be an endowment. So I guess why, if this money is not going to an endowment fund, is it still 21,000?
An awesome question. So my line of thought in this is that that money will allot for enough time to build that endowment fund. So depends on how much time you have. And it depends on how fast they spend it, because I want to give them lump sum, because we give them $3,000 a year, they might have to turn somebody away. And that would suck. That would be atrocious. So I want to give them that lump sum so they can continue to build this endowment fund, say through fundraisers, any number of things, and still continue to have money that they can give out. So really what it is like a cushion. It allows for them to continue to do the great work that they're doing, but also allows them to do additional great work. Does that make sense?
Yeah. When do you expect that this money will be spent by?
So, like I said, it's kind of variable. If we're using the $3,000 a year number, that's $7,000 or 7 years. Should they need more? Say 1 year there's a high influx, and generally they have seen an upward trend in, I can't quite remember, interactions, I believe is what they said. They've had an increase in interactions. So I could see it diminishing in the next 5 years, 3 years. I think 5 to 7 is a realistic number.
Does the bill have a sunset clause of any kind?
No, it does not. And I intentionally didn't put one in, both because I have heard a general disdain from sunset clauses, but also it allows for that lump sum capability for people to go, you should have this much money because you need this much money, and I can't. I think it allows for more flexibility. Does that make sense?
I think so. How many people do you expect will be using these funds?
Sorry, Senator. I'm sorry, Chair Taylor, but we are out of time for question and answer. If there was a motion to extend that time, I will entertain it.
I motion to extend Q&A time by,
Oh, you want
10 minutes?
Sure. Okay. Let's do this by voice vote. Please say aye if you'd like to extend Q&A time by 10 minutes.
Aye.
Please say nay if you would not.
Nay.
Okay. The ayes have it. We will be extending Q&A time by another 10 minutes. Chair Taylor, you have the floor.
How many people do you expect will be using this money?
Kind of variable. It's some of the record keeping. When I have conversations about this, it doesn't seem like the records were super consistent, so I don't have a good statistic. We would hope as few people as need to, but I anticipate if people knew it was an option, it would be more likely to be taken advantage of. Does that make sense? Terrible choice of words.
Yeah. I guess you've kind of touched on this, but what will the money be spent on?
The money will be spent, like I said, on a case-by-case basis, allowing for the WGAC to make that call. So like in the recent requests, as I listed off before, kind of it allots for that variability from situation to situation. Sorry, keep asking that.
Bills like this in the past, especially when they give a lot of money, have had kind of like a line item budget, or like an estimate of some kind, so that the Senate can see, I guess, what that money is going to, especially when it is as much as this. Do you have anything like that? Would you be willing to make that?
So a line-by-line budget before it happens is kind of difficult because it's going to go to those variable needs. What I did put in is the offer, and the WGAC was more than happy to be like, yeah, we'll do that. Is every semester, you can make it shorter or longer, every semester for the next 5 years, there will be a written report that will go to Senate, and you can look through it and you can be like, oh, this is a good use of this money. I'm happy to see that this money is being used for these things. So it'll kind of be post-active, but what it'll say is it won't say a name because it has to follow confidentiality, but it'll say, we gave this much money for these items on this date. And this was approved by this application process and voted on by this group. I kicked around the idea of having like a representative, but that won't meet confidentiality.
And I guess my final question, would you?
Chair Taylor, I'm sorry that you're out of time. Senator or Chair Kelly.
Again.
Okay, we will now have a motion to exhaust the speakers list. We will do this by voice vote. Please say aye if you would like to exhaust the speakers list.
Aye.
Please say nay if you would like to not.
Nay.
And if you abstain.
Abstain.
Okay, the ayes have it. The speakers list is now exhausted. Do you yield? Okay. Senator Kyle Hill. Or Senator Hill.
Thank you. I think my first question, you may have touched on this, and excuse me, pardon me if I missed it, but regarding WGAC is funded by SFRB, correct? Student fees.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. Second question, have you considered asking SFRB for an increase?
Yes, I have thought about that. Really, the reason I think that it's difficult to go about that is it won't necessarily solve the entirety of the issue. Giving a fee increase won't solve the endowment problem, which is something that'll have to be carefully navigated over time, which is difficult. And I wish SFRB was really the answer to it, but I think it will end up creating I think it'll end up creating a few more complexities to the situation, specifically with knowing what that money is going to. Because I'm not saying that they're going to allocate that money somewhere else on a whim, but they don't necessarily have to take that and put it where it should be every year. Whereas this is like, this goes into this fund can be used for this fund is what this fund is used for. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Another question I have is, would you be willing to put some kind of, limit on where any of these funds might go, whether?
Could you elaborate on?
I guess, the question's asking like, would, essentially, if there's like different, for example, WGAC does, many things, right? For different,
Absolutely.
right? And, think about hypothetical, for example, if like category A, category B, would you be like, putting a limit, if we were to give you 21,000? Would you be, are you willing to put a limit on like, okay, no more than 3,000 will go to this, or this amount go to that, or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I apologize for the redundancy. I think since it's such a case-by-case basis, it's a good idea to say, hey, please don't use more than $3,000 a year. But if they have to, they have to. And that can be a continual conversation. The WGAC can continue to send those statements to Senate. The Senate can continue to have those conversations and say, how do you want to proceed? Can we use more? Can we use less? What is the comfort level of Senate? And effectively, Senate can act as advising. Would that be okay?
Thank you. That was my questions. Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
So before we move on, send this to committee, I just have a few point of information to make. The first is, I might be wrong in this, but I do believe that all bills dealing with funding must have a sunset clause in their bill. And the second is, this was touched on at the beginning, but this bill will tentatively be moving on to committees due to the fact that it has currently been flagged by the CSU Financial Department for a potential issue. But now we'll move this into committees with the budgetary and DEI committee.
Point of information, Mr. Speaker. Can you elaborate on that potential issue?
It was spoken on earlier, just with the how the funding is being allocated to various what's the name of the funds? Endowed and non-endowed funds. The CSU Financial Department just wants to look at it some more and discuss with potentially legal department, make sure everything's working out fine.
Can I also add on to that as well?
Sure.
So it's also my understanding, we took out the endowment of the funds going to endowment, so that's not the issue. But they also want to look just a little bit more closely at non-endowment fund, essentially. That's my understanding. Also, as this funding is very similar to the Lavender Cabinet bill that we funded last year, where you can't put line items on specific things because gender affirming garments, for example, look different for everybody, and how much you need looks different for everybody. So consider, if you're really worried about the line item issue, that's just not really possible with a bill like this. So that's all I have to add.
And this will now go to committee.
Point of information, can you send this to internal committee too?
Sure.
Thank you.
I motion for 5-minute recess.
Okay, there's been a motion for a 5-minute recess. Is there any
second.
Okay, there's a second.
Point of clarification, how much is left on our agenda?
There is technically 1/nothing.
1/nothing.
I rescind my motion.
Okay, so we will now be moving on to our last business of the day, which is the, yes. No, that's fine. Okay. So our last bit of business, which is Bill 5,313 funding for Feesoft. However, due to the fact that the author of this bill would like to have a presentation to go with their bill, and that was not sent out in the weekly email, that has been postponed to the next Senate session. So we will now be moving into ending roll call. Yes, Hermanti.
Motion to use beginning roll call and then roll call, and allow those who showed up late to be added to the roll call.
Okay. There has been a motion that has been seconded. We will now do this by voice vote. If you agree with this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
If you say nay, please say nay.
Nay.
And if you abstain, okay, this motion is passed. We will be using beginning roll call as ending roll call. Now we'll move into committee reports, starting with internal affairs. Internal affairs, is there anything to report?
Please come to committee. I think that's just about all I have. Also, like I mentioned when I was presenting my bill, if you would like to meet with me and some people in housing, please come and talk to me, because I would love to have some ASCSU folks at that. I will.
Okay, we will now move to budgetary affairs. Is there any budgetary affairs reports?
No, I yield to redundancy.
Okay, now we'll move to university affairs. University affairs, is there anything to report?
Yeah, so on the, ADA Lex, as I said earlier, I will be holding it again when we come back on Monday, normal time. If you want to talk about it or look at it, if not, I'm just gonna send it through on my own if no one comes, and
DEI affairs, is there anything to report?
yes, please come to my committee. I will not be there this Friday, but I still recommend it because bills are coming through. I had something else I was gonna say and I forgot, so I yield.
Okay, we will now move into caucus reports. Women in Social Justice Caucus, is there anything to report?
Olivia's not here.
Is there anyone who is elected to represent Olivia at this time?
Women's Social Justice Caucus, pretty much, we talked over the Claire's bill for a while, and that took up most of last meeting. So seeing as it's going through committee, if you guys have anything extra that you're interested in, you can't make it to a committee, please come to Women's Caucus. We're also seeing very, very low numbers, so please come anyway. It's from 5:30 to 6:30 on Mondays.
Okay, accessibility caucus, is there anything to report?
One last thing I can place based on it being my abstract, don't look at me like that. I did reach out to the individual that, Speaker Ayala was talking about last week. And I'm in active communication with that person to see what accessibility caucus can do on that. So if members are interested in that, I will hopefully have enough information to brief y'all. Hopefully this individual will be able to attend caucus. If not, I'll figure that out and update y'all in the group meeting. With that, I yield.
Okay,
Have a great
and
break.
with that, we adjourn.
Wow.